I think there's a decent chance, 50%, that everybody in the SEC has 2 losses. At the end of this, when everything's done, when the SEC Conference Championship game is played, I think there's a better than 50% chance that everybody in the league has 2 losses.
Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another Dooley Noted podcast presented by our good friends at Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios, or we'll call it the Meldon Law Gator Dome. How about that? We are here today. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of good stuff to get to. Just wanted you to know today, Chris Lowe is going to be our guest. I love Chris. He's a good man, writes for ESPN, does all their college football, and just tremendous at what he does. Really, nobody knows Nick Saban like Chris Lowe does. I mean, he gets calls from him all the time. I don't think Nick's ever called me. Anyway, and then Coach Spurrier on Monday. I'm trying to get for next Thursday a really good guest, and for the following Thursday a really good guest. And the reason is next Thursday is my birthday, my 70th birthday, and Karen and Jill, Andrew they've got a party planned at Ballyhoo for us, and I'm excited about it. Robbie, of course, turns the day before. So, but I'm trying to get a good guest. Maybe I'll just have Robbie on. Maybe we can just tell St. Augustine stories, but it'll be a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and get to our Gainesville quarterback club, starting 5. And I told you about this last week, and I wanted to double check on it. But yeah, there was no meeting last week, but this Tuesday is the gala, and they have it's a really nice party, and I'm pretty sure it's at Touchdown Terrace. Jacob Hester is going to be speaking at that meeting. Seems like there's an LSU theme at the gala, because I remember a couple of years ago we had Booger. But anyway, that'll be good. And then the following meeting, Graham Mertz will be the speaker, and that'll be great. I cannot wait for that one. And then after that, Carlos Alvarez, and then they do the high school thing. So but you can get a special limited time thing, membership for the club. All you got to do, I think it's $150, and you get to go see all these great speakers. And believe me, it'll be worth it for you to do that, because it's going to be a lot of fun. But let's get to the Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5, and we will start off with the fact that, of course, the Gators are playing Texas this week, and the Lagway question that has been there. I think we were all a little stunned when they started talking about how he might play, and we were like, wow, I thought he popped it, because I thought it was really bad when he hurt his hamstring. But they've been working on it and working on it. He's probably not getting a lot of reps because they got to keep him healthy. My thing is, if you are in danger of this being a nagging injury, and hamstrings can be that, that, I would get him 100% before I would bring him back in. Because look, you're probably, you may be able to beat Texas. Texas is vulnerable, I think. We've talked about this before. But you've got to win 2 more games. You really do. To ensure you go into a bowl. So you want to go into that last 3 games, obviously LSU, Ole Miss, and FSU, with a healthy quarterback. And if you do, you could win any of those 3 games. You do not want to go in with, if Lagway re-injures himself or has hurt something else because he's favoring that. That's the last thing you want. You want this guy ready to go. And that's my biggest concern here. I know they want him ready to play, and I know he wants to play. It's Dallas, man. Oh, it's Austin, but it's near Dallas. He's from Texas. He really wants to play in this game. But I think they'll do I know that this staff does err on the side of caution, sometimes questionably to me. But, they're sitting there right now. They've got 7 players that started games this year listed as out for this game and maybe out for the season. In fact, I think Eugene Wilson, I've been told he is out for the season. He's done. You saw the picture they put up on, when I say they, I'm going to straighten this out a little bit. There we go. Oh, I did it too much. When I say they, I'm talking about somebody put it up on Twitter of him in a wheelchair. Yeah, he had surgery. He's done. But they had 7 starters out, 6 more starters questionable for this game. So that's 13 starters that have some kind of an injury. College football, that doesn't. However, you look at Texas's list, there's about 7 players on there, and most of them were injured in the preseason. We knew they were out. Baxter, guys like that. So Florida really, I talk about this all the time. You find out how good you are by how good your depth is by your injuries. When the injuries come, are you able to replace them? Florida's done a pretty good job at that so far. But maybe they catch up with them in this game. I don't know. This game could be one of those games where we just go, where everybody just, the fan base just kind of goes, no, I don't want him after all. I thought I did want to leave him here. I wanted him to stay for another year. Now I don't want him. There are going to be people that say that. And there are going to be people that are going to say, look what he's dealing with. All these starters that are out, all these good players, they're just having bad injuries, bad problems, and just bad luck. And sometimes that Zook luck is too much. You got to get rid of it. But let's just watch the game Saturday, and we'll have all fresh opinions on Monday. That's the great thing about a college football season, is you can talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, and it's going to change every week. Every week you can have a different opinion, and at the end of the season, you have a totally another different opinion, and then your opinion changes again because they don't recruit well, or they do recruit well, or whatever. You know what I mean? But that's what's fun about it. All right, let's move on to number 2 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5, of course. I wanted to give you the spread on this game because the spread has jumped. That's not good. The spread has jumped to 21.5. It was 16. I know it was 16 at one point. In fact, when I wrote my back 9 column, I think I had it listed as 16 because I usually check that on Sunday. But now it's up to 21.5. And I think a lot of it has to do with the injuries. I think, obviously it may go down now because if Lagway, they say Lagway's touch and go. And I don't know what that means. If they touch him, he goes. Touch and go is an old cliche that shouldn't be used. But anyway, he's a game time decision. That isn't a cliche, because game time decision is, look, we're going to decide after we work him out on the field whether he's going to go or not. That's a game time decision. That's not a cliche. Anyway, they are. I did a little research. Usually I do it for the quarterback club for Tuesdays, but I didn't, since there was no meeting this week, because that's where they were voting out over to the Best Western. So, but I still did a little bit here, and I just looked up some things. They are 4th in the SEC in offense, good on offense, first in defense, and this is the concern I have. First in defense. It's going to be hard for Florida to score a lot of points on them. And I know Georgia did, but they got some turnovers, and that's how Florida's going to have to do it. They also have, I'm trying to read this without my glasses, I got no chance. I know what it was. I was looking up the stats and anyway. Oh, I know it. Fewest points allowed per game. That's what the stat was. Thank you, Pat, for talking to yourself through it. They've allowed the fewest points, anybody, not Georgia, everybody. They're number 1 in the SEC, and that says a lot about what they're able to do. They've got a really good team. We all know that. And that's the way I'll leave that with you. They're really good. They have some vulnerabilities. Can Florida win the game? Yes, they can win the game. Will they win? Probably not. That is the biggest reason I would sit Lagway. I know he wants to play back there, but he'll probably tell them, "Oh yeah, it feels good. It feels good." That's what it looks like to me. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see how it all works out. Did I jar this? I'm sorry. Okay, let's get to number 3 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5, and that is that the first college football rankings came out. Florida was not included. I couldn't believe it. Of course they weren't. There aren't too many 4-4 teams on there. In fact, there are none. But they came out, and of course there's going to be reaction and overreaction. That's why they're here. There is a reason why they have it. It is because they want you to talk about it. And otherwise you're going to be talking about other stuff. You're going to be talking about NIL and portal. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the rankings. And the rankings were about what we thought they were. In fact, I think I couldn't find. They may not be out in the car, but I was looking around. I'd thrown away the sheet. This is the script that I have every week. Okay, there's a script, and I threw it away. But I'm pretty sure it was about exactly like ours. I think there was one team that we had in that wasn't in. We do that every Monday. The Christine and Steve Wendig present the 12, and I think we're pretty close on it. But the other thing is, don't overreact. But you can react. It's fine to react, but just know that it's not. It's kind of meaningless. There are teams but the other thing I want you to remember, because people are going to say that that Brigham Young is getting the shaft and everything like that. Well, wait till the games. If they beat Utah this week, they'll be fine. Don't worry about it. But the point is, we now have a situation where there are more teams that are mad. Because when it was a 4-team playoff, when it was a 2-team playoff, I mean, not much you could do about it. It's just the way it is. When it was a 4-team playoff, 5 and 6 would be mad, and 6 usually didn't have a good argument, knew it wasn't going to get in. 7, I mean, there were times the year of TCU and that happened. Who was it? TCU and who got shafted? I'm trying to remember. Was it Baylor? But anyway, so that's going on right now, but now you've got more. So then you would have 2 teams. I'm trying to get back to my point. You would have 2 teams at that point that would probably be mad. Now you're going to have 6 or 7, because if you finish 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, you can go, hey, we should have been in there. That team had 2 losses. We had 2 losses. You're going to get a lot of that, and that's going to be the interesting part of that. That is going to be a fun day, because that when they announce it, it'll be interesting. Let's just put it that way. But it is what it is, and a lot of gnashing of teeth. We'll just keep doing it, and we'll see what happens. And a lot of it will, and this gets us to number 4 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5. A lot of it will be decided this week. It will be decided because a lot of teams are playing this week, and there's some loser leaves town games, and I think that if Ole Miss loses, I think they can leave town. I don't think that that's going to go well for them otherwise. But obviously the Alabama LSU game feels like a loser leaves town. Definitely, the team that loses that game will have 3 losses. You're done. You're not coming back. There's a lot of them like that, though. I'm looking forward to this weekend, and like we were talking about, with Utah and Brigham Young, I want to watch that game too. I want to see what they can do, and see if they're worthy. Because I've seen a little bit of Brigham Young this week or this year, but mostly it's been me just seeing scores or seeing highlights. So I do kind of want to watch that game as well. Obviously, Georgia Ole Miss ought to be really interesting. But Ole Miss, I mean, that's what I'm saying. If Ole Miss loses this game, this is their last chance. It really is. Now, I know they've got other games after this, and I think they'll win them, or some of them anyway. They better win them all. But they got to win this one. They win this one, now that doesn't mean they're in. And then you have to look at Georgia and go, wait a minute. Doesn't Georgia start to play Tennessee? I think it is. Or they got somebody else they got to play. They may be out. Who knows? This is what it's about. Usually we're 4 weeks left in the season, and we're like, there's about 6 teams that can make the playoff. Nah, there's a lot of them down there. A lot of them. And that's the great fun of it. And speaking of teams that were ranked and aren't anymore, we get to number 5 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5, and that is Sports Illustrated, or not Sports Illustrated, ESPN did a really good story on 6 teams that wish they could have a do-over for this season, 6 ranked teams that aren't ranked anymore. And it was really good because they delved into what the problems are on all these teams by talking to assistant coaches at other schools. So I recommend it highly. I think Dave Hale wrote it. Maybe Chris wrote it. I'll find out when we get them on. But it's a really good story. But here are the 6 teams. And Michigan, obviously, FSU, needless to say, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Arizona, and USC. So a lot of them are teams that especially in the cases of, Oklahoma, our Arizona and USC and Oklahoma are teams that switched leagues. So maybe they're having a problem with that. I added it up. The records of those 6 teams are 20 and 28, and they were all ranked in the preseason. Now, again, and this was where somebody says, we shouldn't be ranking. In my day, we didn't have rankings. We just, said we're number one or whatever. But I love rankings because it gives you something to talk about again. Look, I do a radio show 5 days a week with the great Jeff Cardozo. I do this podcast twice a week. I got to have something to talk about. So I got no problem with rankings. But those teams really would like a do-over. Can we start over? I think Florida would be one of those teams that would like a do-over. Now, they weren't ranked in the preseason, but they would love to start this season from scratch with all their healthy players, and let's go now. We figured it out. We think we know what we were doing wrong early in the season. We've got to figure it out. They would love a do-over. They don't come, though. Here's what you got to do. You got to do the last 4 games the right way. And certainly it'll be interesting to see how they finish up. All right. That's going to do it for our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5. Kind of missed them this week because we didn't have a meeting Tuesday, and I'm counting on that for dinner Tuesday nights. But we will be having a great dinner on this following Tuesday night again for the Gainesville Quarterback Club. So you really ought to think about getting on board because these are 3 great speakers they got coming up. The food's going to be great. You're going to have a good time, I promise you. And I'll talk to you. I'll be friends with you. How about that? I'll be your new friend, new bestie, BFF. All right, let's get a break. We'll come back with the great Chris Lowe, the Bulldog, will join us here on another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studio. Gator fans, football season is here. What's better than seeing the Gators back on the field? Easy. Seeing amazing speakers and fellow Gator fans weekly at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Held every Tuesday night of a home game at the Best Western Gateway Grand. Enjoy happy hour, great food, valuable insights from yours truly and Andy Staples, plus notable speakers throughout the season. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you access to elite speakers like coaches, NCAA football insiders, Gator greats, and more. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-season meetings, home tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or visit thequarterbackclub.org. Or better yet, just give me a call and I'll get you to the right people.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't. Our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Okay, and welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And it's a great pleasure to bring on my good friend Chris Lowe from ESPN. You know his writing over there, and he does a great job. And he's got a good-looking hat on, too. Not as good as mine, though, you got to admit. I got a better hat on.
I got one of those free golf tournament hats, Pat. You know all about those, right?
Got a few of those, yeah. People love to write in stories. He was wearing the uniform of the day, a Steve Spurrier scramble golf shirt. What am I not supposed to wear it?
Yeah, shirts, hats. I mean, over 35 years of playing those, I've probably got a bunch in my closet I need to donate. It's what I need to do.
Yeah, I actually, when I got married, I had to get rid of a bunch of them. One of them was a Tennessee hat that the Tennessee fan sent me. So
I bet.
All right, let's talk about where we are right now. We're 3/4 or 2/3 of the way through the season, and I first want to get your take on. I know that the first reveal of the college football playoff is you have to take it with a grain of salt because it's just saying here's what we think now. But was there anything that you went, whoa, that doesn't seem right?
Let's start with a trivia question. You remember who the first ever #1 team was in the very first BCS standings, Pat? You're a veteran, so I know you know the answer to this question.
Mississippi State.
That's exactly right. You could ask that question to somebody under 35 and they would never believe it.
Never.
So that sort of shows you that the early rankings don't, and that was with 4 teams, don't mean a whole lot, but it's still fun. It's still fun to sort of project and, hey, this team might play here, they might play that team. The best thing I like about the 12-team playoff, Pat, is we're going to actually see on-campus games.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I ever thought we'd see a playoff with on-campus games. I'm not sure about you, but that is what's most enticing to me is, we might see Penn State play at Alabama, or we might see Penn State play at Texas. That's pretty fascinating, in a playoff type game. I think that I wondered where Indiana would end up in the first rankings. They're about where I thought they would be, and I know a lot of people in the SEC think, well, Indiana, they shouldn't be there. Well, they're going to be there, so people need to just brace for that. If they only lose one game, they're going to be in the playoff, and that's just there's no other way around that. I wondered about Alabama. I was a little surprised Alabama was in with 2 losses, but they have one of the best 3 wins in college football. They beat Georgia. The other fascinating thing to me, or intriguing thing to me, was and is Boise State. Can Boise State, Pat, win enough games? Can they win their championship, conference championship, and somehow figure out a way to get a top 4 seed? I think that's possible. I wouldn't say it's probable, but I think it's possible. If everybody in the Big 12 has 2 losses, and their conference champion has 2 losses, would Boise State be ranked higher than, let's say, a Kansas State or a BYU? Now, BYU doesn't have any losses at this point. But if they were to lose 2, would Boise State pass them? Would they pass Colorado? What if Colorado wins out?
That'll be interesting too, because they're in then.
Exactly. So that was the other one. Could Boise State be a top 4 seed, which would knock out the Big 12 champion into, it's not knock them out, but they wouldn't get a bye.
Right.
And, the other thing is, what happens in the SEC? What happens if, let's say Georgia wins out, okay? They've got 1 loss, and they lose in the SEC championship game to Texas or LSU or Tennessee. Then how far does Georgia? Georgia's not going to get a top 4 seed in that scenario. I'm just using Georgia hypothetically. How far down will they drop? Will they go to 6, 7, 8? 5, 6, 7, 8 host those first round games. So you certainly want to be in that. If you don't win your conference championship,
right, exactly.
You want to be in that group. You don't want to be going to Penn State in December. You don't want to be going to Tennessee, which is a hard place to play. I don't think you want to go anywhere. So that was pretty much my take. I think it's going to shake out about like we thought. I think 4 from the SEC will get in. I think 4 from the Big 10 will get in. And then we'll see if the ACC is a 1-team or 2-team league. We'll see if the Big 12 probably just gets 1 team. And can Notre Dame win out? Because they're certainly going to have to win out to get in.
Yeah.
They got no chance with 2 losses, having lost to Northern Illinois. So I think those are the things to watch. The last thing I would say is I think there's a decent chance, 50%, that everybody in the SEC has 2 losses. At the end of this, when everything's done, when the SEC conference championship game is played, I think there's a better than a 50% chance that everybody in the league has 2 losses.
You know what else will be interesting is let's say Notre Dame does win out. Now they get to host, they get to host a Touchdown Jesus, and they say, hey, we got to put in there Indiana. That'll be good. That'll be fun. And I wonder if they're going to do, and we know this goes on with basketball. They claim it doesn't, but we know it happens. That would be fun to see if they do a little bit of that maneuvering, just one line here and there to get teams play each other and even get it more intense.
Or avoid rematches.
Yes.
That's the other thing.
Yes.
Do they try to avoid rematches? For instance, Georgia and Texas have already played. Let's say Georgia wins the SEC. Or let's say Texas wins the SEC. They get a first-round bye. Would they be in the same bracket as Georgia, potentially having to play Georgia? I guess that would be the semifinals?
Yeah.
I mean, those are things to watch for, too. Do they try to avoid best they can rematches? And to your point, do we see first-round matchups that are geographically, appealing? What if Texas A&M and Texas both get in?
I know.
They play the last game of the season. Think about that. And
they could play the last game of the season. And a lot of things would have to happen. The last game of the season, then play in the SEC championship game, then get matched up again in the playoffs.
Well, hey, same with Texas and Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they play in the SEC championship game. Well, I think both of them are probably still going to get the play. Well, the winner would, obviously, and the loser still probably would, maybe. And they could play a third time. So, yeah, there's all sorts of scenarios that we haven't really faced in college football that, we're going to potentially see. So, I like the fact that we're going to see some on-campus games. That, to me, is when they went down this road, 4 teams for me was okay. I mean, eventually we're going to get to 14 or 16. You know that. Mm-hmm. The thing I like the most is we're going to get to see teams playing on campus. I think that's the fabric pad of college football is on-campus games.
Me too.
And seeing them in maybe cold locales in December would be pretty cool. Okay, imagine a game in State College where it's like 21 degrees and snowing, or wherever, Columbus, Ohio, and it's snowing like crazy. Michigan's probably not going to get in, but those types of games. Kansas State, Manhattan, Kansas. So a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, there is. I think so. And one other thing is the reveal and the way this season has gone. People aren't talking NIL and portal as much. We're able to kind of push that to the side until the off season again. And that, I mean, it still comes up every once in a while because somebody does something idiotic, but it does. We get back to talking football again.
And that's a good thing. I'm like you. I was NIL fatigued. I was portal fatigued. I'm just tired of hearing about it. It is what it is. It's there. It ain't going away. But at some point, let's talk about the game. And I'm the other end of the spectrum is this. See, all these people, those, and I'm pushing 60 to get off your lawn, get off my lawn. People, well, I'll never watch college football again. This has ruined it for me. It's ruined the sport. Listen, everyone's going to keep watching because the product on the field is still outstanding. I really believe that. There's been a lot of good games. It's helped some teams, I think, maybe close the gap a little bit. Teams have been able to pick up players at key positions and help them in a year, whereas in the past, you really couldn't do that. You had to develop younger players. Now, whether that's a good thing or bad thing, but maybe it's giving a team like Indiana a chance, a team like Ole Miss a chance. Some of these schools that we haven't seen, Colorado. I mean, can you think about Colorado being in the mix for a playoff 5 years ago before the portal? No way. So I still love watching the games. I don't like the chaotic state the game's in right now. No uniformity. And if anybody would to pump themselves full of truth serum, I don't think anybody really likes it. Maybe some in the media who just love controversy and conflict. But I love, I'm going to tune in. I'm going to keep tuning in. I'm going to keep going to games because I love college football, and the product on the field, to me, is as good as ever.
That's the way I am. That's why I have 3 TVs set up in this office. Believe me, I want to watch it all. I want to catch. I want to. Sometimes I'm like, I need a 4th TV. I'm missing something.
Well, just have the head ball coach shut down his bar for his restaurant for a Saturday. Bring you in, free drinks, free food. You and like 15 of your best friends. You can sit there and he can turn all the TVs in the restaurant on. And I'm sure he'd be willing to do that, right?
He might. You never know.
Just invite me
advisors. Yeah.
Invite me.
I did want to ask you this question too, because I was thinking about it, and I think that if you ask 5 people, you might get 5 answers. Who's the best team in the SEC?
I still think it's Georgia, but boy, they're not as. I don't think they're as. That 22 team was dominant. They're not 22 Georgia. I don't think they're last year Georgia. Beck hasn't played great. He's thrown the ball to the other team a lot. They've had some injuries, and they're starting to get healthy. Getting Mikael Williams back helps. Jalen Walker's coming on. If you ask me right now, I had Pat Dooley type money, had a chance to go to Atlantic City and house money to lay down on the one team I thought was going to win the SEC, I'd probably say Georgia. But, Georgia's got a hard schedule still, Pat.
They do.
I'm going to Oxford this weekend. They got to play, and I think they're getting Ole Miss at a bad time for Georgia. I think Ole Miss is probably due to play its best football game at home. They're getting a little healthier. I think their tackle's going to be able to play. Their top left tackle for the first time. Trey Harris, their best receiver, didn't play last week.
Yeah.
He's going to try to go. Georgia has given up, some big numbers in the secondary. I mean, I'm not sure that's not a last 2 or 3 minute game if Lagway doesn't get hurt.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
So I do think they're the best team. I don't think they're as good as they have been. But the beauty of it is I think you could probably bring in 10 other people right now that watch and cover the SEC, and they might give you different answers. Some might say Texas. Some might say Tennessee.
Texas
some
A&M,
LSU, A&M. I mean, they all sort of have beaten up on each other a little bit. And I'm not ready to throw kick Alabama to the curb.
Or Tennessee either. That's another.
I mean, Bama and LSU sort of play an elimination game this Saturday in Baton Rouge. We'll have more answers. As I said, this Saturday, the Dogs play at Ole Miss. Bama plays at LSU. And then the next Saturday, Tennessee plays at Georgia. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have a lot more clarity, I think, in the next week or two.
We are. Who I know. Are you voting on the Heisman, or was that one of those things you dropped? You stopped?
No, I didn't draw. I didn't. I know a lot of people did. Some people say they did and didn't, but no, I never dropped my Heisman vote. And I listen. I know in the state of Tennessee, that's probably that word has probably been outlawed, but I've gone against the grain, and I still vote for it.
Well, you're probably like me too, in that you start thinking about it more this time of year. You're not writing anything down. You're not getting a faux ballot ready, but you're thinking about it. I mean, who like Cam Ward feels to me like he should win it pretty easily unless they screw up down the stretch. But Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter out of Colorado. There are other names like that. I think Carson Beck's now played his way out of it. But I don't know. What are you thinking about that?
I always try to look at it like who is the most indispensable player on their team who's had a huge year against good teams and on big stages. It's a big stage award, Pat. You know that. And who performs on big stages down the stretch? What would Miami be right now without Cam Ward?
6-3.
Just a pretty good team.
Yeah.
If I voted today, we don't have to vote today. I'd vote for Cam Ward. Travis Hunter's made a real push for it. What he's meant on both sides of the ball. If it's the most outstanding player in college football, which is what it says when we, pull out our ballots to vote, has there been a more outstanding player who's contributed more in different facets of the game than Travis Hunter on a team that's really sort of come out of nowhere? I mean, he started poorly, and you look at. I still don't think they're as talented as the top 2 or 3 teams in that league. No. And I think the third one is Ashton Janty at Boise State. I mean, he's put up incredible numbers. Now, can a group of 5 team player win? I guess we're going to find out. If he keeps, if he gets up close to some of these records, these hallowed records in rushing and touchdowns, and they go on to win the rest of their games and win their conference, and their only loss is about one, to say an Oregon team that stays number 1, I think he can make a real case. Right now, those are sort of would be the 3 that would be at the top of my radar. And I hate it though, man. I hate when people vote before the conference championship game weekend, and they always do. I don't know why
Oh,
they do.
yeah. And you know what they say? They say you shouldn't get an extra chance to perform. And I'm like, no, that's why you played.
Right.
You played well enough to get that extra chance.
Chances are the guy who's in contention is the reason you're playing for a conference championship.
Exactly.
So I never vote before that, and I'll go back through, and I know you do it too. I've done it. I guess I started in '96, I guess, voting,
Yeah, I think
and
that might have been my first year too.
I go back through and I look at conference numbers. I look at how, let's take Cam Ward for instance. How did he play against the teams at that point, or in the committee's top 25 rankings? Did he play really well against those teams? How did he play on the road? Were there games that particular player led his team back from a deficit? I hate to bring up this again. I hope people are not surrounding my house right now, but you look at Charles Woodson in '97. Well, Woodson won, whether you agree he was better than Peyton or not, because in those last few games where Michigan was fighting for a national championship, he made every big play.
Yep.
Special teams, defense, offense. We were talking about Travis Hunter. So I always try to look at the whole gamut, and there are always going to be people who disagree. I do think the players are on TV more on the East Coast, probably get a little bit of a break, which is why a kid like Ashton Jeanty may probably be on the outside looking in. You go back to Christian McCaffrey. Had Christian McCaffrey been playing at Michigan that year, or Ohio State, or Florida, or Alabama, does he win? Probably so.
Mm-hmm.
Probably
Yeah,
so.
I agree.
So there's a lot of factors involved.
There is. All right, we have to do one more thing, and that is to play our game of Yes, No, Where, or Maybe with Chris Lowe, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. And of course, he is also coming to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line. If you go in there and order anything and say you listen to the Another Dooley Noted podcast, you get free fries with the order. How about that? That's a good deal.
Large or medium?
Large fries. I had them the other day. They were very good too.
All right.
Yes, no way, or maybe. Number one with Chris Lowe. Army makes the college football playoff.
No.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't think they are either.
I love them though. I was up there last week, Pat.
Were you?
Like 4 days up there with Jeff Monken doing a piece for the Army-Navy game. I love that. Man, I love that experience. I love that team. I love their approach. I mean, I can promise there are no yellow Lamborghinis parked in the parking lot there on campus at Army. But no, I think I don't think they played a hard enough schedule.
Yeah. All right. And number two, Kirk Cignetti is a 1-year wonder.
And that he's going to move somewhere else, or they won't ever play this well again.
Or that this will be 1 year and we'll remember him, and then he'll go back to being normal.
No, maybe. I think he's done too good a job just to write him off and say this is only a 1-year deal. He's done a super job, and I don't think as a coach you come in and do what he's done this year and it just be a one-time thing. So I go maybe on that.
Now, that's a lot of schools are going to have openings. Florida may be one of them. We'll see. But is that a good hire to get a guy who did amazing things at a place, but he only put in that 1 year? I would be leery of that a little bit.
Yeah, I think some schools would be. It doesn't diminish what he's done this year.
No.
That probably works against him, Pat. And I think, what is Kurt, around 60?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And this coming from two guys that are 60 or 60 plus. So I hate to admit that, but it's a young man's game, and ADs and presidents want younger guys as a coach. And I'm not saying that's the right decision or the right way to look at it, but I think older coaches in these situations, especially if you're going in the NIL world, you're going to a place that's going to play that game aggressively. They're going to probably want a younger guy. But gosh, they've beaten everybody decisively all year long. Everybody they play.
Amazing.
And at a school that, I mean, who would have thought football at Indiana would be this dynamic? So I know one thing: if I'm an AD and I need a guy to come in because he's done it, because there's a different way to look at that. Yes, he's done it 1 year, but he came in, he did it in basically 1 year. To
Yeah.
turn my
With other guys' players. Yeah.
Yeah, to turn my school around, program around, he would be on my list.
Yep, absolutely. All right, and finally, number 3 on yes, no, way, or maybe. Vanderbilt is the best story in college football this year.
Yes, because I would have said Louisiana Monroe, but they've lost a couple here. You had that sort of ugly incident on the sideline, which is that's not fair to judge the whole program. But they've lost a couple here in a row. That's the least funded team in FBS. I mean, they have ice machines that they can't replace if they break down. I mean, so I think Vanderbilt at what Clark Lee has done, and I will punctuate it by saying this: they have 3 games left in the SEC. South Carolina this week at home. Then they play at LSU. There's a bye in there somewhere, I think. And then they close the season against Tennessee, which has a chance to be incredibly big for both teams.
Mm-hmm.
If they can find a way
to elimination game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And here's the other way for Vanderbilt. If they can find a way to win 2 of those games, that would give them a winning record in the SEC for only the second time in the last 40-plus years. Think of that. 40-plus years they would have a winning SEC record. To me, just absolutely underscores the job that they would be in this position to do that Clark Lee has done. Diego Pavia is one of the more entertaining players in college football to watch play. They have that old school approach. Remember you used to hear, well, time of possession in college football means nothing anymore. Remember that?
Yeah, oh yeah.
It meant everything for this team. They keep the ball away from you.
I think it's kind of coming around.
Yeah, they keep it away from you. They don't turn it over. They don't give you a lot of short fields. I was at the Texas game, and the only reason Texas won that game, and I'm not taking it away from Texas, is Texas forced 3 turnovers in that game. Vandy only had 2 total going into that game, and even then, Texas had to recover an onside kick to seal the game at the end of the game. So Vandy's a bit of a throwback, which I sort of find refreshing. They don't make mistakes. They got a quarterback who is dynamic. That team rallies around, and, boy, they believe. So I think Vanderbilt is the best story in college football because here we are in the first year of a 12-team playoff, and a school that has been a doormat is a top 25 team.
Yeah, and if they can just win, hey, if they win out, they're in. I guarantee you that. They win those 3 games, Tennessee, and I mean, it's a big game with South Carolina.
Well, think about it. Think about who they play. So if they win those 3, it's a big if. It's going to be, I mean, that's a gargantuan task. But if they beat LSU, LSU's out. You beat Tennessee, Tennessee's out. So even if you put Georgia and Texas and, A&M in, there's going to be a 4th team. Vanderbilt, with wins over Alabama, LSU, and Tennessee, I don't see how you keep them out.
Won't be able to do it. And we won't be able to keep you much longer, so we'll say goodbye, and we'll be back. We'll have you back again, maybe after the season. We always love having you on, Chris. Appreciate you very much.
Well, it's great to be with Pat. Old friends stay old friends for a long time. Now, I don't want to emphasize old. How about longtime friends?
How about Robbie and I both turn 70 next week? So that'll you can say old now. I'm past the point where I get offended by somebody mentioning how old I am.
Hey, I always ask you this to give the ball coach a question. I actually talked to him a few weeks ago. Ask him if he's still shooting his age on the golf course.
Yeah, I don't think he is. I don't think he's playing a whole lot, to be honest with you.
Is he playing the forward tees now?
Oh, yes, he is, because I am too. No, I have 2 knee operations. I think he had both of his done too. Once you do that, you're allowed to play the forward tees.
Jack Nicklaus always said more people who play golf should be playing the forward tees. And he's right. He's right.
Should be.
It makes it a lot more fun.
All right, Chris. We'll be back with more
Dooley.
on another Dooley Noted podcast right after this break.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coaches Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. All right, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And while we were talking to Chris Lowe, a story broke, and I couldn't look over there and see it since I can't wear my glasses. Well, anyway, you don't really need to know that. That Scott Strickland put out a statement that said Billy Napier is our coach, and he will be our coach for the rest of the year. Or he didn't say for the rest of the year. What exactly was it? He will be our coach forever, not forever. But he's trying to, and again, I'm not surprised they did this. They put this statement out and said, look, quit talking about him getting fired. Quit talking about hot seats. Quit talking about who we're going to hire. We're keeping this guy, okay? Now, next year, could be the same thing could come up again. I hope that, and I know why Florida did this. They did this because all this is killing recruiting. I've tried to talk about this before with you guys, but all the negative Nellies out there kill recruiting. They're everywhere at every school, but at Florida, they have a lot of platforms, and Florida is not playing well. They haven't played well. But we did see, and what Scott Strickland did say in the memo was that look how these guys have played the last couple of weeks, and I agree with that. But is it a risky move? It's not risky to not pay $26 million. I imagine that tomorrow's radio show, because we're not on radio today because of women's basketball, tomorrow's radio show will be really interesting. Looking forward to it. All right. But that is breaking news that Scott Strickland's saying basically, hey, we got a coach. We're fine with it. We're good. This guy's going to be coach here for a long time. I'm sure it'll be interesting to see what people have to say about that. All right. Let us move along to our Hester and Kipke 3 things. Hester and Kipke, of course, a Gainesville firm here for your needs. Let's try that again. Hester and Kipke, a Gainesville firm. I'm struggling here. Hester and Kipke, Gainesville firm. Okay. Hester and Kipke is a Gainesville firm here for your needs in a family law or workers' compensation. Call or text Ken and Jennifer 24/7 at 352-339-9920. Hester and Kipke, nearly 50 years of combined legal experience and about to celebrate their 5th anniversary in January. We appreciate them. Well, number one on our Hester and Kipke 3 things is that sometimes I call him Al Bundy, but it is his name is actually Mike Gundy. But he does say some dumb things, and he came out after their last game and called fans names and he said this: fans who can't even pay their they don't have enough money for food. Is what he said. Yeah. People who don't have enough. So he's basically saying, I got a lot of money. So you don't have enough money for food. It's a terrible thing for him to say something like that. He came out and apologized for it today. Do I accept it? No. Here's what cracks me up. I want to make this a national law. Okay. Make this a law. There's a lot of things I'd like to do, but let's make this one a law. You cannot say anymore, you didn't mean to offend anybody. That if you said something, if you're saying these people who can't even pay enough for food, or criticize me, if you say that, you're meaning to offend them. That's what you're doing. You're saying, here's a shot for you. Boom. You mean to offend. If you want to say, I shouldn't have said that, that's fine. If you want to say, I shouldn't have said something so callous and ignorant, I can't help it, I am ignorant, that's fine. But if you say that, anyway, I got off a little bit of a rant there. All right, I got to get this guy's name right. Ryan, this is number 2 on Hester and Kipke. Ryan Kalkabrenner. I think that's it. It's close to the name. Anyway, I barely remember him from last year. I think didn't Creighton get knocked out early last year? But anyway, he plays for Creighton, 7-1, really good player. And he lit it up last night, scored 49 points. And college basketball is full bore. Everything's going now. In fact, Calipari got his first Arkansas win. He beat Lipscomb. So good for you, John. But yeah, it is cool that we're already getting, this is the good time when you'll have football games on. I'm sure we'll get to those later on here on the obviously the college games on the Swamp games of the weekend. But we have that, and then you have basketball games, and some points you get to golf tournaments and women's basketball and all kinds of stuff. This is a good time of the year. I love this time of the year. All right, so let's get to number 3 on our Hester and Kipke 3 things, and that is that I always talk about how time flies. Football season, it's over before you know it, and okay, yeah, but here's another example of how time flies, says the man who's turning 70 next week. Height night for gymnastics is next month, December 16th. They unveiled that today. Gymnastics, which didn't just get over, that was the Olympics, sorry. But yeah, so it's January 16th, or I'm sorry, December 16th. So before the end of the year, we'll have hype night for gymnastics, and I know it'll be full for that as well. That is our Hester and Kipke 3 things. We appreciate Ken and Jennifer. Let us move along to our Adams Rib Co. Gators of the weekend. There are 2 of them today, and their Gators of the week, I should say, are Walter Clayton and Will Richard. And they are Gators of the week because this season got off with a nice bang. That was a very close game. South Florida, a team playing with a heavy heart, but they came out and played to celebrate their coach, who passed away. And that's not a bad. Don't forget they won their conference last year. So Florida had a tough match in those 2 game, and those 2 guys really came up and played well, made a ton of shots. I think one had 29, one had 25. I should have written that down. Anyway. They played really well, so they are Adams Ribco Gators of the weekend. We move next to our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. And Anna, I will get your gift cards in the mail. Maybe today, but maybe tomorrow. But she was our winner last week, and she was very excited about it. All right, let's go to our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. Florida, we're going to give you 3, okay? We're going to give you 3 games. 3 games, and you only got to get 2 right. We'll give you an easy start. 3 games, 2 right. All right, here are the games. In fact, you can only pick 2 and say, I don't even need a 3rd game. I'm so good. Florida's getting 21.5 points at Texas. I think they'll cover, but that's one of yours. Georgia giving 2.5 points at Ole Miss. So Georgia's a 2.5 point favorite at Ole Miss. That's an interesting bet. That's a tough pick, I got to admit. Alabama is giving 2 at LSU. So you got 2 road favorites there, 2 home dogs, and 1. Anyway, so Florida getting 21.5 at Texas, and then Georgia giving 2.5 at Ole Miss, and Alabama giving 2 at LSU. 3 fun games to watch. All in the SEC. That's where the best football is played, as we know. Let us move along to our Florida Surf Club upset alert. We do this every Thursday, and of course on Mondays we do the Florida Surf Club Cool Dude of the Week. And hopefully they're loving all this, and we're doing a good job for them. They're great guys, and we appreciate them. We showed you the video of them surfing during the parade the other day. All right. The Florida Surf Club, we have an upset alert every Thursday, and I always want to give it at least 6 points, at least a touchdown underdog. And I found one I think pretty good. Clemson is giving 6.5 to Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's a tough place to play. Clemson, they're playing well, but I think this is going to be the kind of game Virginia Tech's going to get them. So that is our Florida Surf Club upset alert. You are put on upset alert, Clemson. All right, let's move along to this, that, and the other. This, that, and the other brought to you by Ironwood Golf Course, by Ballyhoo Grill, where I'm going to be having, Robbie and I are going to be having our birthday party. We're excited about that. And that's next week. And of course, by Dar Shakow Insurance, who we need to invite to our birthday party. Check with my wife and make sure she did that. All right, this was a couple weeks ago. Robbie and I did, and Jeff and I did on the radio talk a lot about homecoming and things we missed about it, and how good it was and how much fun we had. That was, then we kind of started poo-pooing what Growl is now. It's in the O-Dome, and the parade's not much. The Florida Surf Club saved the parade, to be honest with you. Just everything's not the same way it used to be. It's great. And that brings us to the other, which is stop acting like a 70-year-old man. Okay, you're not 70. You got another week and a half to go. You're not there yet. We had great times. Be happy. Be happy that you had these unbelievable memories. Snapshots in your life. Snapshots. We always do that to each other. Snapshot. That's the way to look at it. It isn't what these millennials don't know what they're missing. They don't know what they missed, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. Quit being, mad about it. That's the way I look at it. Anyway, all right, let's move along to our Hugh Cain, Allstate Mayhem moment.
The Gator Nation is in good hands with local Allstate agent Hugh Cain. Stop by Alachua Marketplace Plaza in Alachua and get a free quote today.
Yeah, so this guy is gone, man. He is gone. He is, he is not gone. Not only that, he's not tackled at the one. He's got the ball. This other guy stole the ball from him, and he is running the other field. And let me tell you what, when you're that age, you can run forever. And he probably could have kept running after that. I would offer him a scholarship right now because that kid can run. He's fast, and he's clearly got good endurance. That is our Hugh Cain Allstate Mayhem moment. That was a fun one. I saw that one this weekend. I said, I got to save that. I know it's perfect for the Mayhem moment. All right, let us wrap it up with our swamp games of the weekend. We got a ton to get to here, so let's give you everything we have. First of all, women's basketball is playing tonight, as you know, Florida A&M, 5 o'clock, and the men are playing JU at 8 o'clock. Both those games are on the plus, okay? You have to have the plus, as you do with volleyball, which is playing at home on Friday against Auburn at 7 and Alabama on Sunday at 1. Both those games are on the plus as well, but you can also attend all those games if you want to. Now, I always look for threesomes. That's what he said. I look for threesomes. I look for 3 games at each of the 3 time slots to make me happy. It's not good this week. I'm not real happy with it, but here's what it's going to be. My first threesome will be at the noon games, and that will be Florida, Texas. That's on ABC. Miami, Georgia Tech. Yeah, ESPN, I'll watch that. There's no third game. So I'm going to probably have Purdue, Ohio State. That's on Fox. It's not much of a game. I got to tell you, the SEC is blowing Fox away. I mean, ESPN is blowing Fox away because the games that they're ended up putting on have not been great. A lot of big favorites. So we'll see. Okay, the 3:30 games. Okay, does it get better? Oh, Georgia Ole Miss. That's a great way to. Oh, I'm excited about that. Georgia Ole Miss, ABC, 3:30. Army against North Texas. Okay, I want to see Army play. I really haven't seen them play.
Okay, I'll watch. That's on ESPN 2. That's at 3:30, and then at 4, Colorado, Texas Tech. Pretty good game. Fox. Still not a great show. We do have a 4:15 South Carolina Vandy though. I'll include that in the SEC, that 3:30 window, and then of course at the 7:30 night window, you've got FSU and Notre Dame, which I'll watch, even though FSU's 1-7. That's on ABC. Oh, by the way, that SEC Vandy game is on the SEC network, and then Alabama LSU, which will be great. That's on ABC. And then, like, there's not a third game again. I think I'll probably watch Nevada at Boise State, which is on Fox at 8 o'clock, just because I need to watch a little more of Boise State before I decide on my, I don't want to not watch Genty play. I've watched him a little bit, but I want to watch a full game with him, so I'll have that on. But as you can see, there are not a lot of great games. And then, of course, you got all the NFL stuff that's going on this week as well. Okay, well, that was a long show, I think, but we're done with it, and we appreciate all of you for being with us. Of course, we appreciate Zach for his wonderful work doing the editing and everything, and appreciate Chris Lowe for coming on. Monday, it'll be Coach Spurrier will join us, and then the following Thursday, on my birthday, we'll have somebody good, I promise. Maybe I'll have Karen come on my birthday. Nah, she won't do it. All right, that's it for the show. Until next time, I am Pat Dooley, and I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.